Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, today we will discuss block diagrams. Now, block diagram is basically a pictorial representation or a schematic representation of the different components of a control system. Now, basically, we can obtain the transfer function by looking at the block diagram and try to simplify this one and bring that to a single block with an input on one side and the output on the other side. For example, generally speaking, a control system is represented by a block which contains a transfer function, and then we have an input quantity and we have an output quantity. Now, the components can be connected in different fashion, in three different fashion, in fact: cascade or series, parallel and loop. So we can start with a simple problem on the simplification by first of all considering when we have two subsystems in cascade with transfer function G1 and G2, cascade in series. So whenever you have this situation, you can combine that in a single this type of block by multiplying the two transfer functions together. So this is equivalent to this one. Now similarly, if we have two different subsystems in parallel, so we have the two transfer functions, they are added together like this one. So we have a single block again with a transfer function inside the block. Now then we come up with the situation of a loop. Now a loop is like this. We have a negative because most of the system we are dealing with are negative feedback because of stability. Negative feedback system are stable, positive or not. So we have this loop, and this loop can be converted into a single block by including the transfer function as such. We have done this in the previous lecture as well. So this is equivalent to this. Now sometimes you may come up with a situation whereby you cannot actually foresee the blocks are in series, cascade, like in circuits you come across a situation whereby only star delta can be used. Now in this case there is no such thing called star delta transformation. Everything is on the basis of these three. Now for example, if you look at this particular diagram, now in this particular diagram what we are looking at is a situation whereby nobody can actually see immediately which one are in series, parallel, etc. So what we have is a loop, different loops. There is another forward path. Remember, we have to follow the arrowheads. Arrowheads from input to output means it's a forward block, and arrowhead from output towards input means it's a feedback system. Now if you look at this situation, we have different subsystems connected with loops. So anyhow, in order to simplify this one, we can see that there are no immediate series or parallel combination. All we are looking at are some loops which can possibly be simplified in this form. So we have this loop, we have this independent loop, and then we have this independent loop. Now these can be first of all simplified, and then if we simplify this one, all these comes in cascade. So all these blocks and then are arranged in cascade, and once we get this arrangement, then we can go for this particular simplification, and then we can see that the resultant will be parallel with this one, so we can add up the two. And then there is a loop which is a unity feedback loop, that is one. Most of the system are represented conveniently, concisely by unity as a unity feedback system. So then we can use again this particular formulation, and we come to a complete transfer function. Now, as I said just now, that it is more convenient to bring the system from canonical form. Now this is the canonical form into a unity feedback form. Now how to do that? Now in order to go for this one, what we do is that in the feedback block, I'll not use S in the bracket anyhow. I'll subtract one and add one. Doesn't make any difference. In mathematics, you are allowed to do such manipulation. You are subtracting one and adding one. Now, you can put those in brackets. This one is one and this one is other. Now, it looks like that they are supposed to be parallel. See, this particular configuration say that this entire block consists of two functions, h minus 1 and 1, and they are in parallel. So what we do is we simply go for this one, h minus 1, and then another block with a 1. We go for positive sign in this case and keep the negative sign with h. So we are having the, now if you just add them according to this, it will become this one, it will become g1 plus g2, h minus 1 plus 1, so it doesn't make any difference. Now this is, can be, in other words, can be written or can be redrawn as such. And similarly over here. Now we have an inner loop and then we have an outer loop. Now we simplify the inner loop according to this formula. So what we get? We get Gs divided by 1 plus, since it's a negative feedback system, into h s minus 1. So if we simplify this one and put it right away over here, in one block, we will get Gs divided by 1 plus Gh, I'm not using S, minus G. So you get this one. Now we have converted that system canonical form into an equivalent unity. So 1 means nothing, so just put 1. So that is now a unity feedback system, an equivalent unity feedback configuration for the given feedback loop. Now, in order to reduce the complication, we go for another technique which is on the basis of signal flow graph. Now, signal flow graph is simply a graph of this one which indicates the flow of information from input to output or output to input by replacing each of these blocks by a transmittance. Now, the transmittance is simply again a transfer function, a type of a transfer function, but we don't use a block in this case. And then we go for nodes. Nodes are some sort of a junction points anyhow, as in circuit analysis. Now, first of all, what happens, each of this block is supposed to be replaced by transmittance. And then each junction point is represented by node. Now let's do it. Starting from this one, output and input and output are nodes. So we just lay off the input node and the output. Now each component or each junction, each of these components such as summation point, and this is simply a junction. This is again a summation point, this is summation point, this one, this is a junction. So we represent these by nodes. So we have a summation point. Let's mark them first. We have 1, we have 2 node, possible node, then we have a 3 node, 3rd node, then we have a 4th node, then we have a 5th node, then we have a 6th, then we have 7, and of course this one is actually 8 because we have to represent output by 8. This is 8 node and this is our node 1. And then this is another node, this is another node, so we just mark it as node number 9, and then we have node number 10. So these are the possible nodes. Now let's draw them, let's place all the nodes accordingly. This is node 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 of course. And then we have below 7 we have node number 9. Exactly we have to follow that picture. And then below node 2 there is a node number 10. Now we start with, so we start with fill in the blanks 1 and 2. Arrowhead is in this direction. You just follow the arrow. Now there is nothing in this. Between node 1 and node 2 there is nothing. It's simply input. So input is over here, of course, node 1, and we just make this as 1. The transmittance is 1. Similarly, between node 2 and 3 we have a block. Arrowhead is a forward block. You just have a look at the arrowhead. Now this one is G1. So we replace this by a simple straight line with a transmittance which is G1. 3 and 4. 3 and 4 contain G2. So we replace it with a transmittance. Transmittance is not a block, it's the same thing. But it's simply just a link. Between node 4 and 5 there is another transmittance which is G3. And then between 5 and 6 we have nothing. There is no function. So we just keep it as 1. And then we have between 6 and 7 we have G4. Between 7 and 8 nothing, 1, and this is of course our output node. Then we have nothing between 7 and 9. Of course between 9 and 6 we have a transmittance H4. Between 5 and 4 we have a transmittance H2. Now since it's a negative, both of them are negative, so it is mandatory to add a negative sign. Between 3 and 2 we are talking about another transmitter, but anyhow I'll just draw it accordingly. This is how you draw it, because we have placed a node. So this is arrow, this is this arrow, and this one is minus H1 because of the negative feedback over here. This minus sign is then incorporated. If it's plus, just leave it as it is. So we have completed this thing. Now between 9 and 10 there is a transmittance which is 1, but then it's connected to the negative terminal. So we have minus 1. And then between node 2 and 7, and it's a forward path because the things are from input towards the output. G5, the transmittance is G5. So this completes the signal flow graph. But still we have to do something. We have to simplify by absorbing nodes to make it more simplified. Now, for example, 9 and 7 node can be absorbed in 1. So we can just remove this 9 because there is a link, simply a link, nothing. And then we can just do it like this. So we have just absorbed node number 9 in node number 7. But we can't do this one. Why we can't do it? The reason is that there are components. These two are components. The two components cannot be absorbed. Only junctions can be absorbed. So this node is due to the presence of component which is a summation point. We cannot absorb it, so we just leave it as it is. So these two nodes are actually not absorbed. 4 and 3 are not absorbed because of the presence of G2 there. Similarly, 1 and 2 are not absorbed because there is an input forcing function. We have to just leave those two as they are. However, node number 10, again there is an issue. This is H1, this is minus 1, but there is a link straight away, and then there are no, this is a component and this is junction. So the junction is normally absorbed in the component, but the two components cannot be absorbed in each other. Remember this point. So what we have is, we can absorb this one, and we are looking at this situation. Now this actually completes the signal flow graph. Now once we have done that, so what we do is we get the total transmittance of the forward paths. Now there are in fact two forward paths. The forward path is starting from 1 and it is going like this, ending at the output. This is one forward path, so path number 1. Path number 1 forward path, the only transmittance is G5. Then we have another path forward. Follow the arrows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and the end at out. Now the collective transmittance has to be multiplied because they are all in series. In the path, they are coming in series. Now we have to treat them independent without the loop first. In order to find the forward path transmittance, we have to neglect these loops. We have to just go from point 1 and end up at the output following the arrow. If somewhere the arrow is in the opposite direction, then you can't actually reach the output, remember. For example, if let's say this arrow is in opposite direction, so you just stop here. It doesn't complete your forward path. The forward path is only completed when you start from the input node 1 and end at the output node 8. But anyhow, in this case, all the arrow heads are favoring from the input towards the output. So the collective transmittance is multiplied, and this is 1 multiplied by G1 multiplied by G2, G3 multiplied by 1, G4 and 1. So we simply have P1 is equal to, this is G1, G2, G3, G4. So we have two possible forward paths. There is no other forward path because all the arrows are in the opposite direction, so it doesn't lead you to the output from the input. Now, these are the forward paths. Now the next are the loops, independent loops. Independent loops. Now loop is a contour basically, and that contour is generally determined by starting from a node and following the arrows, and then you come back to the same node, so it forms a loop. Now remember, no two nodes have to be, a single node must always be traversed once only. Traversed, but you can start and end at the same node, but you cannot traverse twice the same node. For example, you cannot do so like this. This one, for example, this one, and then you go for again from this one and count the loops. No, this is not allowed. Traversing is only once through a node. However, starting and coming back to connect the loop is allowed. So in this case, the independent loops are starting from this one. This is one independent loop. So the collective transmittance is simply the multiplication of those two transmittances. So it is simply G1, H1. So we have loop 1 is equal to minus G1, H1. Now when we have another loop, if we start at point node 4 and we traverse according to the arrow heads, we come back to 4. It means it's a loop. So loop number N2 is minus G3, H2. Now similarly, we have this loop. 6, start at 6, go according to the arrow directions, you come back to the same node. So it is loop number 3, independent loop, and this is minus G4, H4. Now, then we have another situation. If you just look at this thing, start, don't return, start at this point and see. If you traverse all around this path up to 7, you can then come back. You see, again you are not traversing a single node twice, but you are ending up at that particular node where you start from, which is allowed. So we have another loop, possible loop, and that is from node number 2, traversing according to the arrow direction, coming back according to the arrow direction, you end up at the same node. So the collective transmittance is this multiplied by this, multiplied by this, multiplied by this, and multiplied by this. So in fact you are actually having minus G1, G2, G3, G4. Then we have another situation. Have a look at this one. Start from node 2, you can go along this G5 path, traversing node 7 once and coming back again to where you have started from. So you generate another loop, which is loop number 5, and this is minus G5. Now let's have a look at the possibility of another node. So in fact, I don't see another node, because remember one thing. If you start from here, you see something like somebody may choose this one as a loop. Have a look at this loop. You go through this one, and you end up at the same point. But not, this is not a loop. You haven't actually generated a loop like this. Because what happens actually? The thing is that whenever such situation arises, because this is something like you have done so far, you cannot repeat things. And another situation is from 4. If you start from 4 and do like this and then come back at 4, no, it's still the same story. You see why it's the same story? Just have a look. Start from 4 and you come back at 4 anyhow. You are still traversing each node once. But then look at the situation. G3 multiplied by G4 multiplied by -1 multiplied by G1 multiplied by G2, which you have already obtained actually. So there is a repetition. So repetition is also not allowed. So just leave it. These are supposed to be the possible independent loops. Now let's have the pair of two non-touching loops. Pair of two non-touching loops. Now which two loops are non-touching? Non-touching means there shouldn't be any node in common. So if you have two loops and there is a node in common, so it is supposed to be touching loop. So all those nodes, combination, possible set, you can say, pair of two non-touching loops. For example, this loop and this loop are non-touching because there is no node common in either case. So we can say that non-touching loops are L1 and L2. These are the non-touching loops. Their combined transmittance is simply multiplication. So we have L1 and L2. So we end up with G1, G3, H1, H2. And then we have this loop L1 and L3 are also non-touching. They have no node in common. So in fact we can say that L1 and L3 are also non-touching. So their combined transmittance are multiplied, L1 multiplied by L3, so we have G1, G4, H1, H4. Then we have one set, we have two sets, and then we have a third set. So we have third set of L2 and L3. There is no node common. L2, L3 is equal to their combined transmittance is G3, G4, H2, H4. And then we have another story, and that is, you see this outer big loop which we have formed, that is L5. You see this one is L5. This one and L2 are non-touching. You see this is an outer loop. Starting from this point, you end up at the same point. This is loop 5, G5. Transmittance minus G5, of course. And then we have this loop, L2 loop, which is non-touching with this one. There is no node in common. So therefore we have L2 and L5. They are non-touching. So we have a G5, G3, H2. Now there is no other. You cannot say this one, this outer loop, and these are non-touching. No, but there is no common in this case. You see, L1 is this loop. So L1 is G1 minus G1 H1, and this outer loop L5 is minus G5, but they are touching because there is a node in common in both cases, so you cannot have this one. So we complete this. The pair of two non-touching loops is this one, and there of course when we have pair L1 and L2 becomes pair, their combined transmittance is simply multiplication of the two independent loop transmitters. So we have obtained it. Now remember, whenever we have a situation of more than 3 set, more than 3, there is always a possibility of one loop of 3 loops which are non-touching. Let's have that possibility as well. You see, L1, L2 and L3 in fact are 3 non-touching loops. So we have pair of, or you have a set of, a better word is a set of 3 non-touching loops. And this is L1, L2, L3, of course their product actually, we are interested in the product. Now if we go for the product L1, L2, L3, we have minus G1, H1, sorry, just put G, all the G's together first. G3, G4, H1, H2, H4. So this will be, the 2 negative signs will cancel out and leaving 1 negative sign. Now there is no other possibility. There is no other possibility. Now remember, if the set of 2 non-touching loop exceed 3, there is always a possibility of one such set. And if it is less than, then there is no possibility. So anyhow 3 or greater. Now in this case it is. So there is 1. Now there are no such thing further on which says there are 4 non-touching loops. So we stop. We stop over here. Why? Because we have not fulfilled the criteria. The criteria is at least, what is the factorial of 3? 3, 2 is 6. So we must have 6 such sets before we can encounter a set of 4 non-touching loops. But anyhow, forget about it. You won't get systems like this with the 4 non-touching loops. So once we have done that, then we apply Mason's rule. Now what is Mason's rule? Mason's rule is getting a transfer function. The transfer function is sum of P1 and Pi and delta I divided by delta. Now let's see what are these. This is Mason's rule. Mason's rule of getting transfer function through signal flow graphs. Given a block diagram, we draw a signal flow graph, exactly a pictorial view of this, but do not include the blocks. We simply indicate things by transmittance of a forward path or feedback path. Okay, once we have done that, then we go for these analysis. Now once we have done this analysis, then we are in a position to use the Mason's formula. These are all come under the heading of Mason's rule basically. We end up with the Mason's formula. Now this delta is basically equal to 1 minus sum of all the loops. Transmittance, in fact, there is not enough space on the board, so anyhow it is sum of all the transmittance of independent loops. I'll call it independent loops. Then we have plus sum of the product of two non-touching loops. And then we have minus, we end up alternatively minus plus minus, sum of product of 3 non-touching loops, and then so on, but anyhow we stop over here. Now let's have delta. So delta will be equal to, in this case, 1 minus. Now each of these L1, L2, that is what we have is minus L1 plus L2 plus L3 plus L4 plus L5. Then we have plus sign. So we have the product of two non-touching loops, sum of the product. So we have already obtained the product. So sum of the product will be L1, L2 plus L1, L3 plus L2, L3 plus L2, L5. Then minus the sum of the product of three non-touching loops which is there. So we have L1 and there is only one set, no any other set. Now we put the values over there. So we have delta is equal to 1. We take the negative sign outside because each of these terms has a negative sign, so it becomes plus. G1 H1 plus G3 H2 plus G4 H4 plus G1 G2 G3 G4 1 2 3 4 there is another which is 5 plus G5, and then we have plus these parts. So we write these in order. Last is G5, G3, H2. And then finally, minus. Now minus into minus becomes plus. So again we have G1, G3, G4, H1, H2, H4. So this completes delta. Now, what we are then looking at, I'll just rub this one, are these delta. So in fact, in this particular numerical problem, we can define the transfer function as such. P1 delta 1 plus P2 delta 2, there are only two forward paths. So I means I from 1 to n, I from 1 to n anyhow. So we end up with only this term in the numerator. In the denominator, we just write this whole big term, but just leave it as delta. Don't actually repeat this thing. We have already done so, so the examiner know that you have evaluated delta. So just put delta, it's okay. Now, we know P1 and P2. Sorry, this is P2. I'm sorry, I have made this one as P1. This is P2. So delta 1 is actually the cofactor of the forward path P1. Delta 1 is supposed to be the cofactor of the forward path P1. Now the forward path consists of only G5. Now how to get delta 1 actually? Delta 1 is to be obtained from this delta. Now, how this is obtained? Now remember, look at the forward path. Now if you, for example, consider all those nodes which are supposed to be in